In this video I'm going to show you how we can actually use both our arrays and a for and some variables and a else if statement to do a little bit more with this, so it's a little bit more cool. So I changed my variable to chocolate bars, so we have Snickers, Mars, Bounties, Twix, Kit Kat and a Yankee. So I'm going to create my for loop, and I'm going to do the same as before. I'm going to set I to 0 here, and I'm going to tell the system as long as I is smaller than chocolate bars dot length, because I want the number inside the loop. And for each iteration that's true, I'm going to add a number, so the auto increment, so 1 for each. So I'm going to print out a message here. First, just to show you, I'm going to print out my favorite chocolate bar. So let's see, this is like this. So I'm just gonna push in 0 to see it actually works. So woo, it prints out everything because it's calculating the length of the chocolate bar variable, which has 6 different things, but it's only printing out Snickers. It's because I didn't change this to I, so it automatically changes the numbers with each iteration. So now it works. Snickers, Mars, Bounties, Twix, and so on. So this is like the first thing we just did before. Now I want to add a little bit more to my console log, so it's just not printing out this. I can, as we always do, add a string here. My favorite choco bar is, or my first choice, let's go with that. My first choice of choco bar is, and then it prints out lists, right? Now everything is 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. We kind of want to change this to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so on. Because we already have a loop, we can just do the same thing here. So we're already looping it, and we can just add more to our loop. So we already worked a little bit with the if statements. So I can use an if. I have a condition, and let's say my if is if I is equal 0. So the first one, I'm gonna print out something. So console log, let's go first, just to show you. And then I can have an else. Console log other. So let's quickly test this and see what happens. So it prints out for the first one. I should remove this. This doesn't help us right now. So for the first one, that is where I equals 0 in our loop, it says first. And now when this is no longer true, it goes to the else. To add more, I could do an else if, have a new condition. And in this condition we would have when I is equal 1. So one more, we console log second, for example. So let's clear and try again. So now we're changing the loop and the actual thing it's printing out for each iteration. So we can again just do the same up here. If we want to add chocolate bars, and then we can again use the I, and I'm just gonna copy paste because I am so lazy. So plus, oh, that's too many pluses. Let's here run, and so we can see. So my first, and space. So my first is Snickers, my second is Mars, and so on and so on. We can just continue doing this using the console log here, or we can do it a little bit smarter, at least, and just put it in after all these else if statements. So we can put our console log here. Damn, I deleted the wrong one. Sorry for swearing. So console log after all these statements. And then I can actually, instead of having to write the console log in each iteration, I can just add things to this, so specific things. So if I had a variable more down here that said, I don't know, end for some reason, I don't know why I came up with that. So we have a variable called end, and like this, a variable called end, so it's there, but there's nothing in it yet. Then we can actually use this end inside each if statement and assign a specific value to it. So let's call it end first, so we can just see the difference. And in my else statement 2, it's going to be end 2, and the else statement down here, it's going to be something else. So let's see what happens when we run this. And again, no spaces, but I guess we can live with that. So for each, it's going to print out second, because that's what I wrote. And each time it goes, sees this variable called end, it sees it exists here. And for each statement in the if, it says end equal 1, which is this one. And when I equals 1, it has to put this specific part of the variable into it here. So second end 2, and if none of these two are true, it's going for the last statement, which is end 3, so the rest of them. So this is how you can actually use this and use the iteration. And another one could be, instead of having it saying second, let's just do some gar here, and we can just use, you can see what happens if we type I in this case. So let's try that, what happens. So then it's I 0, 1, 2, 3. But we can say my zeroth Snickers is, for example, my first choice. That would be really weird. So we also have to create some form of counter for this. We can create yet another variable here. Let's just call it counter. And we are going to say that I, instead of starting from 0, we just add 1 to it. So like so. So inside the loop, not up here, it's still 0, it still counts from 0. But my counter variable starts from 1 instead of 0, so it doesn't look so weird. So instead of typing this, I just type counter, and it looks, oh, counter is this. So it's doing the calculation before you putting it in. So now it's going to say 1 gar, end 1 Snickers, and so on. So 1 gar, 2 gar, 3, and so on and so on. So this is a way of us actually having a better way of structuring our functions, not our functions, our for, our if statements, and extracting data from our chocolate bar variable here. Last thing I'm going to show you is just we can actually do a sorting as well, and then I'll leave you to it. So right now it says Snickers, Mars, Bounty, and so on. We can actually sort this thing. I'll show you this in the next video really quick.